Shemel Shah, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
The Lord is going to put us back in our land, man, through Yahweh Shai. We're going to be sovereign. We're going to rule. We're going to win. We're going to have everything in abundance, man.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
The wisdom is going to lead to the kingdom, which ultimately the kingdom is the government of Israel, the tabernacle of David. When you look up this word, keys, I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom. When you go to that word keys, that keys to the kingdom is the key of David, the tabernacle of David, the government, authority. But when you go to the word for keys, it says what? Kleis. It says, since the keeper of the keys has the power to open and shut, meaning the Lord is going to give us dominion, like he's going to give us judgment. And it says metaphorically in the New Testament to denote power and authority of various kinds. This wisdom is going to lead to us receiving the kingdom, which is authority above, the authority that the Most High Yahweh gave Yahweh Shai. We're going to have that authority, 144, Lord willing, with that number. But it's authority of various kinds, authority over the resources, authority over the healing, authority over, you can implement judgment. You're going to be able to create and manipulate the elements to create things. You're going to be a God on earth. Basically, that's the power that 144 is going to have. Not even all Israel are going to be on the level of the 144. But yeah, that key, that was given to Peter, was the head of the church. We fall into that order. That's David. The tabernacle of David will receive all various kinds of power, and the gates of hell will not prevail, against us. But yeah, the key of David, see Revelation 1:18, I am him that liveth and was dead. He conquered death. He's the firstborn of the dead, first one of the sons of God. He is the Son of God. He conquered death and went back to the right-hand side. Now we're seeking to conquer death and get our glory back. It says, I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive evermore. Amen. I have the keys of hell and death, meaning judgment. Judgment is given into the hands of Yahweh Shai, and we're going to have that power and say we're going to be able to create plagues on the earth. Like we're going to be a government. Like the government is the government of the whole earth. So the keys that were given unto Peter, which is the key of David, is authority. Power over the nations, everything, bro. So, the scriptures say here, Zechariah 12, it says, in that day Yahweh shall defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. We're going to be New Jerusalem. And he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. So we're going to take the same form as Yahweh Shai. And we're going to be joint heirs with him in rulership. That's why he told, the disciples, you're going to sit at my table, So all Israel is going to be on point. All men will be priests, all our women, but the house of David is going to be as God. Meaning they're going to have a whole nother level under Yahweh Shai, who is the angel of the Lord that's going to be before us. So, yeah, bro. We got a lot coming. The tabernacle of God is with men. When you read that in Revelation 21:3, and I heard the voice out of heaven saying, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. I mean, the laws is going to be in us. And also, 1 John 3 says what? 1 John 3:2, beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it does not appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And every man that had this hope in himself purifies himself even as he is pure. So we got a lot coming, bro. You know, we gonna be, you know, like next level, you know, this government that's coming, kingdom of heaven, boy. Woo! So, I mean, I don't mind being a part of the large multitude because you make it, but man, to be a part of that governing body, bro, that 144, you got something special coming, bro. Judgment, like, you're gonna literally, the authority Yahushua has, you're gonna have that. He's gonna share that authority with you.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom.
Barakatah Yahushua, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushua.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahweh Shah, Bahashum, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutations to the hopeful they got there pushing his word and truth and this series across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful leg, the believers, the listeners whom have come back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shah. All right. So in this edition, you know, morning news and prophecy. All right. Just want to go into, you know, just expound further, all right, on what we was going into yesterday, you know, because as we went into yesterday, all eyes on Iran. Okay, and we know Iran, you know, is the centerpiece of this third world war. Okay, because as that conflict, all right, continues, you know, to get more and more intense, you know, there's a lot of speculation, you know, small hats in America doing the joint strike, you know, in Iran, you know, there's talks about, you know, Iran doing a preeminent strike, you know, which they will strike first, you know, if they know without a doubt that the small hats in Iran, that the small hats in America are getting ready, you know, to carry out, you know, an airstrike. Because we have to remember with this conflict, the stakes are high. Okay. So that's why you've been seeing both sides, you know, tread carefully. Okay. Because all the stakes, you know, are on this conflict because the players that's involved. Okay. This conflict involved the most powerful militaries on the earth. Okay. When you go into America, Russia, China, you know, and even these small hats, the ability that they got, they're not the best strategically, but they do have that high tech weaponry from, okay, America. Okay, strategically they're trash, you know, as far as their actual combat, you know, but the weapons they possess puts them up there as being powerful. Okay, Iran, the missile system that Iran has makes them powerful. Okay, the technology, the missile technology that Iran has makes them powerful. So what we have to understand when we see this conflict, these are the most powerful militaries on the planet Earth. The stakes are high. Okay, and they know they both possess knockout power. Okay, it's like two heavyweight fighters that respect each other's strength. Okay, so they'll kind of be mindful how they move around each other in the ring. Okay, so this is what we're seeing, the most powerful militaries on the earth. Okay, filling each other out. You see, and it's gonna be epic when it goes down because it's all written in scriptures. And what we're seeing with this devil, all right, Esau Edom, you know, he's trying to do so much at one time to where he's just in complete chaos, man. You know, and I want to get some precepts, and I got some videos I want to get into as well. All right. So this is the book of Isaiah. All right, and this is the AMP, Isaiah chapter 57 and verse 20. It said, "But the wicked are like the tossing sea, for it cannot be quiet, and its waters toss up mire and mud." Okay, so what we're seeing with Esau is chaotic, man. All right, this man trying to bring in this new world order, is getting very chaotic. Now we know the devil operates with the formula of order out of chaos. Okay, but what's happening? He's gonna lose control of the chaos, man. You see, he's gonna lose control of this war. Okay, because Esau is pushing for war because he wants chaos. He needs people in fear. Okay, as he wants to implement this new world order. Okay, because remember, this devil is going to present this new world order, this digital system, this technology as a fix-all. Okay, he's going to present technology as a means of world peace. Okay, as a means of fixing world hunger. Okay, as a mean of security, healing the sick. Okay, as a means of no more inflation. So he's going to present, this chip as the fix-all. Okay, so he needs controversy. He needs little skirmishes. He needs, rumors of war. He needs these things to be in place. Okay, so this devil, he's stirring up all this chaos throughout the world. Okay, he destabilizing, governments. Okay, he's causing, riots and protests. He's doing false flags in America. Okay, he's tanking, different, currencies, and he got all this chaos, just all throughout the earth, man. So you had this one nation of people, these Edomites, okay, beginning with Amalek, the elites. They're stirring up, all this chaos, man. They're tossing up all this mire and mud. Okay. So what we're seeing is the earth, spiraling into chaos, and it's going to go beyond what Esau expected, man. Okay, and it's going to go into an actual war, because a lot of things that we see now is political theater. Okay, but the Lord, all right, is going to take over, and this thing is going to go into actual war. Okay, verse 21 says, "There is no peace, says my power, for the wicked." Okay, so what we have to understand that these devils are not at peace. Okay, these elites don't agree. Okay, when it comes to certain points of this new world order. Okay, so it ain't like these devils are in complete peace. Okay, and they're in the position of comfort, trying to establish this new world order. First, they wearied in their counsel, the prophets, and everything that we're saying is coming to pass through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. They're seeing chariots. Okay, their new world order is being met with resistance. Okay, so this devil, he has a lot going on at the same time, and he's not at peace trying to pull this off, man. And that's why it's going to get to the point to where he's just going to lose it, man. He's going to, try to persuade people to voluntarily, get on board with this new world order. Then he's going to make it inconvenient for you not to have this technology. And then he's just going to come with the sword, man. Okay? Because this devil is not in a comfortable position, all right, as he's trying to establish this new world order, man. All right, and that's why we see, this devil all over the place, man. He's tossed like a storm, that's in the ocean. The waves just going to and fro, hitting against each other. Okay, and this is the state, okay, of this man's rulership right now, man. Extremely chaotic. So let's go here. Let's get this in the book of Job. All right, chapter 21. Job 20. All right, this is the book of Job, chapter 20. That's what I meant to say. All right, this is Job 20 and 4. It said, "Do you not know this from the old days, since the time that man was placed on the earth? Okay, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the godless is only for a moment. Okay, so we have to understand that from the beginning, it was meant for the devil to have a short triumph in the earth. Ever since the Renaissance, the rebirth of this man's empire. Okay, because he brought back, the Greco-Roman, okay, government back to the earth, man. He brought that Greco-Roman Empire back to life. That deadly wound was healed. But it was written from the beginning for that to happen. Okay, so the devil didn't defeat the odds by coming back into power. No, it was written. Okay, it was spoken into existence by the will of the Lord. Okay, that's why it's written in scriptures. Okay, because it was ordained from on high. Okay, but the scripture described this man triumphing is short, because this will be the last heathen rulership before an eternal kingdom was established, man. Okay, so this man's limited kingdom is short compared to an everlasting kingdom, which is to come hereafter, man. Okay, so we're at the end of this man's short triumph. All right, and the devil, he's trying to maintain posture of strength, like he got it all figured out, like he's in complete control. Okay, and he's not, man. Okay, that's why you're seeing the increase in political theater. Okay, and that's why they went and got Trump, okay, to be this actor. All right, to play as if they have some type of strong hold, okay, on everything that's happening, man. When actually they're losing everything, man. Okay, verse 6 said, though his pride reaches to the heavens and his head touches the clouds. Yeah, because symbolically, this devil's pride is off the charts, man. Okay, but then even in the physical, man, the fact that this devil has been able to weaponize the heavens, man, the atmosphere. Okay, this devil has enjoyed what you call air superiority in all these different wars. Okay, he's able to track people with the GPS. Okay, so this man's pride literally reaches to the clouds, man. Okay, to where this nigga can just be proud from the atmosphere, man. He's been able to just turn nations into rubble, okay, from the clouds. You see, and that plays into this man's off the chart pride, man. And it's good that he's moving in that pride, okay, because he's becoming reckless. Okay, so even though this man, all right, has reached, to a level that no heathen has ever been, okay, well, the Lord is going to destroy him like he's never destroyed another heathen as well. We serve a balanced power. Okay, that's the balance, to this man becoming so powerful in the earth. He's going to get judged like no other nation has been judged, man. Okay, so let's read this and then we can segue to some videos. In Joel 27, it said, yet he perishes forever like his own refuse. All right, those who have seen him will say, where is he? He flies away like a dream and cannot be found. Yeah, he is chased away like a vision of the night, man. Okay, so we're into the time, man, where the Lord is finna erase this man's rulership. He's finna erase this man's infrastructure out of the earth, man. Okay, in the kingdom there will be no trace, all right, that the Edomite was ever in power, man. His kingdom is going to be forgotten, and eventually he's going to be forgotten, man. Okay, so all this, beating his chest and he's puffed up, moving around, okay, like he's just got another 1,000 years to, all these agendas and things he's putting in place, like he here for the long run. Nah, man. The Lord finna erase this man like he was never, all right, in power, and like he was never a nation. Okay, and that's going to be the Lord showing his power that he is, man. Joel 29 said, the eye which saw him sees him no longer, neither does his accustomed place behold him any longer. And he's accustomed, okay, with these last few centuries of what? Being the top nation, being the top authority in the earth, going unchecked. Okay, he's got accustomed to that position. to the point to where he thinks that he can't be removed from their position, man, their place. Okay? But the Lord's going to show him otherwise, man. The Lord's going to show this devil true power. Okay? Because Esau is limited, man. We have to understand Esau is limited, man, because you can, we can overhype this man like, he just got it figured out. And, no, this nigga limited, man. He's limited in what he can do. He's limited in what he can know. He's limited in how he can strategize. He's limited, man. And the Lord's exposing this, man. As we see, things are getting out of his control, man. Okay? Because let's go here. Because the things that this devil, used to do with ease, he's having a hard time to pull it off now. Okay? The things that this devil at one time used to do with ease, he's having a hard time pulling it off. Okay? And it's just like a washed up athlete. Okay? There was a time when, let's just say a wide receiver, in his prime, okay, he could run 60, 70 routes a game. Okay? With ease. Okay? But now he can only run 30 and 40. He catching hell doing that. Okay? He can't run, those deep routes, as he used to, man. He's catching hell. Okay? He can't get off the press like he used to, man. You see? And that's this devil. Okay? Yeah, he's still a top performer. But the things that he used to do with ease, he can't do anymore. Okay? So let's go here real quick. I got this because, like I say, the main target is Iran now. Okay? Because this is part of these devils, as we know about the Greater Israel Project. Okay? As we know about, the New World Order, where they want to weaken Iran dramatically, okay, before this New World Order is established. They want to weaken Iran because they look at Iran as a threat to them being able to do what they want to do in that region of the earth, okay, because of their hostility that exists between Iran and the small hats, man, which really is an ancient rivalry when you go into it, because you go into those Greek and Persian wars. Okay, that was between the small hats and Iran. Okay, Iran going back to Persia. Okay, Amalek, which goes back to the Greeks. Okay, so this is an ancient rivalry, man, that the Lord has renewed in the earth. Okay, except this time instead of spears and arrows, all right, they have nukes and fighter jets. Okay, hypersonic. Okay, but it's that same rivalry, man. Okay, so those small hats, they want to turn Iran, okay, into another Edomite colony, man, to where Esau can control the governments, the resources. They want to do that to Iran. Okay, so Iran is their last phase, okay, of them fully being in control of what they call the Middle East. Okay, so you're seeing a lot of emphasis on Iran, which that plays a major part in prophecy, man. So everything is working exactly how we need to work, man. Okay, but see, what we seen is the devil, he can't pull off, all right, these gimmicks, okay, like he used to, because everybody know this nigga playbook. Everybody know his propaganda playbook. Everybody know his military strategy. Everybody know. Everybody is calling this nigga out and what he gonna do next, because he do the same thing. American military do the same thing over and over and over again. Okay, in this video, he's going to get into it. So let's go here.
Donald Trump is expected to meet his top advisors today to explore how to respond to Iran's crackdown on anti-government protesters.
US President Donald Trump hints at military intervention in Iran, saying that Washington is considering strong options.
When Washington wants to sell a war, it usually starts the same way. First, it reframes a country's pain into a morality play. Then it reframes that country's sovereignty into bad behavior. And then it reframes foreign pressure into help. After that, any unrest that follows gets packaged as the people rising up. while the state is told it has no right to restore order, no right to defend itself, and no right to exist unless it obeys the empire. That is exactly what this moment feels like. Iran under an intense, multi-layered siege, and Donald Trump leaning into language and posture that signal he is prepared to turn that siege into open war, while presenting himself as some kind of savior. And it is happening as the so-called protest narrative begins to lose steam, not because the Iranian state is afraid of its people, but because the spectacle has limits when reality sets in. Iran is not a blank canvas for foreign fantasies. It is a sovereign nation with institutions, a national identity forged through decades of pressure, and a population that has seen this movie before, where outside powers exploit economic strain, amplify chaos, and then claim moral authority to intervene. The more the unrest collapses as a credible revolution story, the more the warmongers lean into escalation, because their preferred outcome was never reform, it was rupture. Iranians on the street rejects any revolution suggestion.
Yeah, man. So as those protests are losing steam, all right, because they speculated that China, all right, helped, Iran cut their Starlink internet, in which their Starlink, that's where all those sleeper cells were communicating and organizing and causing this damage to Iranian, infrastructure. Okay. And they're pushing as if, because Iran is a country of 94 million people. And if you listen to Western media, you would think that it was 94 million people that wanted a regime change. Okay. Now, there was authentic protest because of, the inflation. Okay. There was an authentic protest at the beginning. And what those sleeper cells did, they took advantage of that and they turned it into riots. Those Israeli and American sleeper cells, and also the British too. So you have the MI6, which is the British Secret Service. You have the Mossad, which is the Israeli, all right, intelligence service, and then you have the CIA, which they always in the mix of everything that's going on. Okay, so those sleeper cells, those Western, back sleeper cells, they took those authentic protests, of those Iranian people, because there was peaceful protests, because the president did, make a few blunders, even beyond the sanctions, okay, from the West. There was certain decision that was made by the Iranian president, and the Iranian president, what they did, they started to subsidize, certain essentials, and then they gave away 70,000 free apartments, to Iranians, to combat the inflation. Okay. So there was just a sovereign nation dealing with problems that nations go through. Okay. But what the West did, they infused all those sleeper cells, okay, which are professional rioters. Okay. And it become violent. People started dying. People started getting attacked. The police started getting attacked. Buildings started, blowing up. Okay, so they had to cut the internet, and when they cut the internet, a lot of their rioting, died down because they couldn't coordinate, they couldn't communicate and coordinate. Okay, and a lot of them was getting paid. Another thing, they was getting paid through Bitcoin. Okay, which shows you Bitcoin was set up by the elites, man, to pay off people. Okay, because what I call cryptocurrency, which is a hidden currency. Okay. And this is the way that these governments was paying off these people in other nations, because then you can trade your Bitcoin into whatever currency you wanted it, but it couldn't be tracked, So another thing, they use that Bitcoin to pay off, a lot of people in these different governments. Okay, so it's not tracked by a currency, because if you're getting paid off in American currency, then it's the American government doing this. But if you're getting paid off in Bitcoin, that gives them what they call plausible deniability, if I'm saying it right, But so as the protests have calmed down, okay, America is still pushing as if these things are highly intensified. Okay, so what we can see now is the small hats in America, go ahead and make a move while they still got this narrative going. Because if they lose this narrative of the protest, then we can see, things, simmer down, and the West will have to try to come at it again from another angle. Okay. So this is kind of where we're in the crossroads. All right. And these devils having to make a move while this narrative's still hot, or they're going to fall back. Okay. But everybody know, and see what we have to understand, the Iranian people know America. America don't know. See, the American citizens are the least familiar with their government. These other nations know how the American government and the American media get down. American people are the last people to understand any type of truth. These people have been knowing this for decades about the American government. This ain't nothing new. The propaganda, the agent provocateur, this is nothing new to Iran and these other nations. Venezuela, all these other nations, they know about the American government. Everybody knows. Okay, it's American people that don't know. The American people, you're just finding out that your government ain't shit. You're the last people to know that your government ain't shit. You're the last to find that out. Okay, these other people, they know this, man. Okay, so this play this, because this is they're gonna be speaking in Iranian language, but these are people that's against these riots and what the West is pushing out in the media. Okay, so I'm gonna play a little bit of it, then I'm gonna jump forward, and that's the spirit of videos, 14 minutes and 41 seconds. Then it stopped right here on 144 mark. Call Almighty al-Bashim al-Shah, because this is the flashpoint that's gonna escalate prophecy to another level. When they do finally lock up at war, okay, these small hats, America and Iran, this gonna be a major flashpoint for prophecy, man. Right, this third world war. But we know other things have to take place. Okay, but things have escalated to the point of no return. Okay, this is further escalation. So let's play this a little bit. Hey, she said, hold on, let's get what she said, because they over there talking about they paint Trump name on the street signs in Iran like it's some type of call to Trump to come play hero. But look what she said about Trump. She said, I don't even consider Trump a human to even talking about him. You see, this is an Iranian woman. She said, I don't even consider Trump a human. He a clown. He a hero in America. He a clown everywhere else, man. Y'all hype this nigga up like he great in America, man. The earth know this nigga is a clown. Okay? So I don't even consider Trump a human to even talking about him, man. You see?
من معترضم، ولی بخواد پای این لجنزارا و صهیونیست و سکتوله‌هاش جا باز بشه، نه. ما هرچی هم با هم دیگه مشکل داشته باشیم، ولی این که بخواید اینجا قد علم کنید، نه. ما هستیم، جونمون رو پای این کشور میذاریم.
هیچ کشوری به ایران من نمیتونه دست بزنه.
یا فریب خوردن یا کلا از جاهای دیگه اومدن. ما مردم تهرانیم و باشش هم وایسادیم.
کسی که از این خاک، از این مرزبون
Yeah, so they just going about, they're bagging their country. So let's go here. Fast forward a little bit. So let's play this.
Cited figures putting the toll above 500. Along YouTube censor videos like this, so like and share to help me out. Thank you. Let's be honest about what the unrest has meant on the ground. Hundreds of deaths have been reported, with widely cited figures putting the toll above 500, alongside thousands of arrests. That level of bloodshed is not a talking point. It is a national wound. But the Western framing tries to weaponize that wound. It turns tragedy into a pretext. Look how unstable Iran is. Now is the moment to finish it. That is not solidarity with Iranian lives. That is opportunism. If they truly cared about Iranian lives, they would stop fanning conflict and stop turning every internal crisis into a launchpad for regime change fantasies. War criminal Benjamin Netanyahu latched on this to lie more about the Iranian people.
ישראל עוקבת בדריכות על הנעשה באיראן. הפגנות למען החירות התפשטו ברחבי המדינה. העם בישראל, העולם כולו, משתאה מול הגבורה האדירה של אזרחי איראן. ישראל תומכת במאבקם לחופש ומגנה בתקיפות את מעשה הטבח ההמוני באזרחים חפים מפשע. כולנו תקווה שהאומה הפרסית תשתחרר מקרוב מעול העריצות, וכשיום זה יגיע, ישראל ואיראן יחזרו להיות שותפות נאמנות בבניית עתיד של שגשוג ושלום לשני העמים.
The hypocrisy becomes impossible to ignore when you look at Trump's posture at home. In the United States, massive domestic protests have erupted over federal brutality and immigration enforcement. Americans have marched in multiple cities, demanding accountability.
This is wrong. What's happening in this country is wrong, and it has to end.
Denouncing what they describe as terror and abuse of power, and confronting an aggressive federal apparatus. Trump's political ecosystem has been accused of escalating crackdowns while dismissing or smearing protesters at home. Yet the same man points at Iran and claims he must intervene to save people from repression. You can't preach freedom abroad while a large segment of your own population is on the streets accusing your administration of violence, impunity, and abuse. That isn't moral leadership. That is projection. This is where the phrase America First becomes a kind of punchline. Trump postures as a nationalist, but his nationalism is selective. It becomes a flag to wave domestically, while he simultaneously seeks to detonate wars abroad for political leverage. If America were truly first, the priority would be addressing domestic fractures, restoring public trust, and confronting the failures that have put Americans in the streets protesting federal power. Instead, he redirects outward because foreign enemies are convenient. They let him turn internal chaos into external theater. They let him dress up political survival as strength. You also cannot separate this moment from the post-2025 reality. Iran is not being threatened in a vacuum. Iran has already endured direct aggression and a dangerous cycle of escalation, including a major war with Israel. That war did not just damage infrastructure, it deepened the logic of deterrence. Every sovereign state that survives a major attack rebuilds its defenses. It repairs what was hit, restores readiness, and sends a message. Do not miscalculate. Iran's rebuilding of military capability after that conflict is not a sign of evil intent. It is the most basic, predictable behavior of any state that refuses to be conquered. That is why Trump's declaration posture, his signaling, his threats, his constant suggestion of force reads in Tehran, not as talk, but as preparation. It is understood as the next phase of a long campaign. Sanctions, sabotage, assassinations, psychological operations, and then, when the target refuses to collapse, direct military coercion. That is the imperial script, and Iran has lived through it long enough to recognize the pattern before the final page is turned. Now, let's talk about the military menu Trump likely imagines, because this is where American arrogance usually hides behind technology. It is always the same set of ideas. Precision airstrikes, cruise missiles launched from ships, drones conducting persistent pressure, cyber operations aimed at disrupting command and control and infrastructure, and the threat of special forces raids or broader ground action. These options get discussed in Washington as if war is a spreadsheet problem: inputs, outputs, risk tolerances. But Iran is not a shooting gallery, and the Middle East is not a laboratory. Every limited strike carries escalation risk because Iran is not a passive target that absorbs humiliation and says thank you. And the deeper problem is structural. The U.S. has placed a wide, exposed footprint across the region. Bases, personnel, logistics hubs, naval assets spread across multiple countries. Washington likes to talk like it controls escalation, but that belief collapses when you remember how many vulnerable nodes exist and how many actors can be pulled into a regional crisis. The U.S. can strike Iran, but it cannot strike Iran without inviting consequences that ripple across an entire theater. From my perspective, the real purpose of Iran's deterrent is not conquest. It is prevention. It is to make the price of attacking Iran so high that the attacker reconsiders. Iran's missile force, drone capabilities, air defenses, cyber capacity, and naval asymmetric doctrine are designed for one thing: to deny the fantasy of a clean, painless U.S. victory. Iran's message is simple.
Yeah, because, one thing about a bully, they don't like anyone to fight back. Okay? And America has been getting off on just dominating, these weaker nations. Okay? Post-World War II. Okay? American, uses military dominance, to, just dominate these weaker nations. Okay? But see, they can't do Iran like they've been doing all these other nations, man, because America got so many military assets that's within range of those of Iranian missiles. Okay, and for the last 7 months, they don't know what the range of Iranian missiles are in these last 7 months, because Russia has been pouring. Okay, they say there's been tons of military cargo jets coming from Russia for these last 7 months, for 7 months straight. Okay, almost every day, Russian jets have been flying into Iran. Okay, so they really don't know what's over there now. Okay, why you think they're dragging their feet? And all them American military bases, all them American Navy vessels, okay, that's in the Persian Gulf. Okay, even when they did their airstrike last time, they had to park their aircraft carrier in India. Okay, because they had to stay out of range of those missiles. Okay, those Iranian missiles, man. And the Iranian has showed, when just following this, as of late, the Spirit just been on me to follow these things. Iranian has had the most precise missiles. When these people break down these airstrikes and these missile strikes and these strike packages, man, okay, Iran has had a far superior, precision when it comes to their long range missiles, man. And America know this, okay, because Trump was trying to get Netanyahu to chill last year, man. Of course they want to take Iran. Okay, but they know that this ain't gonna be sweet. Like they telling Netanyahu, the West be trying to get Netanyahu to chill, nigga. But it's on the spirit of Netanyahu to play his part in prophecy, which is to draw these nations out. So it's a spirit on this nigga, man. And you look at it, man, the Lord got the perfect characters in place, man. You got Netanyahu, which is an impulsive hothead, okay, which the role of the small hat is going to be to draw all these nations out. Okay. Then you got America. We got Trump, which he's the perfect logo for pride and arrogance. Okay. And then you got, Putin, Iran, and China is just a very serious, ancient, warrior type spirit on those Eastern nations, man. Okay. To take this bitch down. Okay, before Yahweh Shah comes and takes down everything, man. So everything is in place, man. You look at it, man, the chess moves that the Lord is making with these nations, man. This is beautiful, man. Okay, and everybody know what America gonna do militarily.
If you open this door, you don't get to choose what comes through it. This is why threats against Iran are so reckless. Iran has the capacity to respond in ways that are not symbolic. The region is full of strategic targets, military facilities, critical infrastructure, shipping lanes, and high-value assets that would become vulnerable in any large-scale conflict. Even if Washington imagines it can suppress Iranian response, the realities of geography, dispersal, and asymmetric capacity make that confidence dangerous. Iran does not need to match America in global projection. It needs to impose localized costs that shatter the attacker's political will and expose the fragility of their regional posture. And here is where Israel's role becomes central, because Trump's posture toward Iran rarely exists without Zionist pressure and alignment. Israel has its own incentives to keep Iran as the eternal existential threat, because that narrative unifies hawkish politics and justifies relentless militarization. But Israel is also internally strained. Domestic unrest, political instability, and public anger have been persistent. When a leadership class faces serious legitimacy pressure at home, the temptation to externalize crises to manufacture a larger enemy and declare national emergency becomes powerful. In that context, escalation with Iran becomes not only a strategic obsession, but a political political lifeline. The Netanyahu factor in my reading is not merely about ideology, it is about survival. A leader under pressure often chooses war rhetoric because it changes the subject. It turns internal dissent into disloyalty. It reframes accountability as weakness. It buys time. And if Israel's leadership is gambling that Iran can be struck without catastrophic blowback, that gamble becomes a form of collective punishment for the entire region. Israelis included, because a major war with Iran is not a controlled event. It is a structural shock. Now, let's move to the economic dimension, because this is where the empire's recklessness becomes everyone's problem. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a talking point. It is a strategic artery. A significant share of global oil flows through that corridor. Any serious conflict involving Iran immediately injects risk into energy markets, shipping insurance, supply chains, and industrial planning. The immediate outcome would likely be a sharp energy shock. Higher oil prices, higher transport costs, higher food prices, inflation spikes, and a wave of economic instability that hits ordinary households first. And the cruel irony is that Trump's own political base would feel it most sharply. When oil prices spike, it's not elites who suffer first. It's working families paying more for fuel, food, and heating. It's small businesses absorbing higher logistics costs. It's manufacturing and transport taking hits. So, the same man who claims to defend the American worker would be setting off a chain reaction that punishes them, simply to posture as a strong man abroad. There's another layer that makes this even more humiliating.
And see, this whole Venezuela thing, they were like, well, we got Venezuelan oil now, so we got all the oil reserves. He's talking about oil is still in the ground. They talk about oil reserves. They're talking about, okay, what's speculated to be in the ground. Okay, which Venezuela has a lot of oil, but America doesn't control Venezuelan oil. Okay, they was able to take, certain tankers and, but that's not going to be enough to counter if Iran shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, America, Trump framed it like taking down Maduro, just gave America 303 billion barrels of oil overnight. No, don't work like that, man. You got infrastructure, you got to set up transports, a lot they got to be set up before they would even have access to that oil. Okay, so Venezuelan oil reserves, all right, will be a non-factor, okay, if war broke out this year or the next year or the year after. Okay, those oil reserves will be a non-factor in this war. Okay, you got to deal with what's happening right now. You got to deal with what you got right now. Okay, so that whole myth, well, we good now, we can go to war, we got this oil. No, you don't. Okay, it don't work like that. Okay, America still got that trash oil that they got to send over. Okay, because America survives off oil from Canada, oil from Russia. Okay, they survive off, the oil swaps that they do with their oil that's coming out the Strait of Hormuz, because they have the refineries, okay, for American oil in the east. So America has they send their oil east and have to get oil sent back from the east that can be refined here in America, man. Okay, to keep America energy going. Okay, but when they really go to war, all Russian oil gonna be cut off. Okay, and that oil from the east gonna be cut off, and Canada doesn't provide enough oil for America to keep going. And American oil reserves can't be used in America. They can't be refined. Okay, he didn't tell you that part. Okay, he just like he just acted as if America just hit a lick.
For war planners. After the initial spike, markets can behave in counterintuitive ways. Severe disruption can trigger demand destruction, recession fears, reduced consumption, economic contraction. Over time, alternative supplies and adjustments can alter price dynamics, but none of that cancels the immediate chaos. The first phase would be shock, panic, and volatility. It would be the kind of economic tremor that shakes alliances, as Europe and Asia question why they should suffer energy pain because Washington wanted another war in the Middle East. Which brings us back to the central lie behind all of this, that war is moral order. In reality, war is often narrative management. It is a tool leaders use when they can't govern their own crises, when they can't unify their own societies, when they can't deliver economically, when they can't face accountability. So, they search for an enemy abroad because enemies are simpler than reforms. They search for a battlefield elsewhere because it lets them avoid fighting corruption, inequality, and institutional decay at home. And in that context, Iran becomes the convenient target, demonized for decades, misunderstood on purpose, and constantly framed as an abnormal state that must be corrected. But Iran's survival is precisely what infuriates them. Iran absorbs pressure and refuses to collapse on schedule. Iran rebuilds after attacks. Iran restores deterrence. Iran continues to speak the language of sovereignty in a world where many states have been reduced to client status. So, when Trump postures like he is ready to invade, what he is really declaring is the empire's impatience. He is declaring that sanctions and sabotage and psychological warfare are not enough, that the target still stands, that the people have not fractured the way Washington hoped, and that the protest storyline is no longer delivering a clean path to collapse. The answer in his mind, onto my mind, is not humility or diplomacy. It is escalation. If Trump truly wants to protect lives, the path is de-escalation and diplomacy, not threats and invasion fantasies. If he truly wants stability, he would stop playing with regional fire and stop feeding the logic of permanent conflict that benefits only arms dealers and political opportunists. And if the world wants to avoid catastrophe, it should treat Iran as what it is, a proud, resilient nation that will not be intimidated into surrender, and that will not accept foreign-engineered chaos being sold as liberation, because this is the deeper truth. Every time an empire thinks it has found the perfect moment to strike Iran, when it imagines the country is weakened by economic pain or unrest, it is tempted to miscalculate. But Iran's modern history is defined by survival under siege. And if anyone insists on turning threats into war, they should remember something empires always forget. The easiest thing is to start a war. The hard part is living with what you started. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel to support my work. See you in the next one.
Yeah, man. So that was a pretty good rundown of
Donald Trump is
of what's happening, you know, and it sums up, you know, how everybody, you know, that's been following this, they know how America gets down, you know. People that have been following the politics and geopolitics for decades, you know, they notice the pattern, you know, when it comes to America, man. So I got one more video I want to get into, okay. And this is the guy, Colonel Douglas McGregor, okay? And he goes into what it would look like, okay, if the small hats in America locked up with Iran, okay? So let's go here. Let's get a few precepts the brother got, you know, the why for y'all brothers, you know, tuning in, add to the live stream with the precepts, you know. This is Isaiah 13:3. It's from the brother Scribe for Masteries. It says, Isaiah 13:3, it says, I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones from my anger, even them that rejoice in my highness, man. Okay? So the Lord has raised up the prophets to speak these things into existence, man. The famines, the war, the MOTB, you know. So the prophets have been commissioned, you know, to speak the Lord's will into existence. Okay? So as the prophets have been going out, okay, and speaking these things are becoming more and more real. Okay. I say all prophecy has broken the ground, you know, because it was like when you plant seeds, you know, you cover them with dirt. Well, you don't see those seeds anymore. But then, you know, over time, what happens? It breaks the ground. Okay. So as, you know, the Lord planted the seed of prophecy in the earth, okay, and he has been watering, all right, that seed, and now we seen, you know, these things begin to break ground. You know, you can see them, and now it's just growing and growing. Okay, the MOTB, civil unrest, World War III, okay, all these things are evident now. Okay, and he calls his prophets, you know, to speak these things into being. Okay, the angels are on deck, you know, his mighty ones. All right, as they're manipulating, the minds of these rulers. Okay, manipulating events. Okay, to play out towards what? Prophecy. Verse 4. This is the brother scribe for the master. Verse 4. It says, the noise of the multitude of the mountains, like as of a great people. And these are missiles, because these missiles are likened unto an army, which they're part of the Lord's army. Okay, and they have their marching orders to go to Babylon and turn this place to a desert. Because this is where all this is leading. When Esau get done, all this, chaos and tackiness and trying to do this and do that, this scheme, this false flag, and everything that this man is doing just going to lead to America being the desert and the nation of Edom, the survivors, okay, of this destruction, going to captivity along with the rest of these heathens, man. Okay, including Iran, including Russia, China, all of them are going into captivity. They're just playing their part in prophecy, man. Okay, it says the noise of the multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdom of the nations gathered together. Yahweh Bashim al-Shah host mustereth the host of the battle. And to muster, that means he's organizing this thing, he's gathering this thing. Okay, it's the Most High that's instigating this war, man. Okay, and America gonna get embarrassed for its pride. Okay, and these nations, after they finish, all right, doing their assignment dealing with America, they're gonna be judged by Yahweh Shai, and all of them going into captivity, man. Okay, so we're speaking from a viewpoint from the outside looking in. Okay, we don't have no stakes in any of these nations, man. Okay, our stake is in Yahweh Shai. Okay, when he comes back, you see. So that's the focal point. So we have a perspective from the outside of all this looking in. Okay, Isaiah 13:5, it says, they come from a far country and from the end of heaven, even Yahweh Bashim al-Shai and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. So this is the end game that all this is leading to, man. These nations are just going to shoot missiles because America can't be in, these nations can't invade America because they have these vast, America is surrounded by these vast, bodies of water. Okay? But they going to send these missiles to invade this place, man. Okay? And Russia just showed you that they got Mach 10. That's crazy work. Mach 10? You see? Because hypersonic start like at Mach 5. Okay? That's like double hypersonic. And then that ain't the fastest they got. They not going to show that until it's that time. Okay? Mach 10 is crazy work, man. 13,000 miles out. And that's just for America, man. The Lord allowed them to tap into that technology. Okay, not for Russia to be great. No, to destroy America, man. Okay? And then Russia going into captivity. Okay? The heathens. Okay, or Russia going into captivity, man. All right. This is Isaiah 13:6 said, how ye, for the day of Yahweh Bashim al-Shai is at hand, and it shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Okay, so this is the headline of this war, is the nukes in Yahweh Shai. All right, and what we're doing, we're just following the build up to the war. Okay, but the headline is how the Heavenly Father, is going to intervene in this war, man. Okay, so let's play this. We'll jump around because then Trump say something too. In this video, we're gonna fast forward to something that Trump says, and this nigga here is proud, boy. But that's what we need. The spirit that Trump is putting in America is perfect. Okay, according to prophecy, man, because pride comes before a fall. So let's play this.
Is the United States militarily prepared to assist the Israelis in an invasion of Iran in the very near future? I mean, stated differently, have we begun to ship and accumulate significant amounts of military hardware in the region?
Well, you know that our friend Larry Johnson wrote an excellent article detailing the arrival of enormous quantities of materiel, weapons, equipment in the Gulf region, flown in by the U.S. Air Force primarily. But can they operate at this point without reliance on the additional fighter squadrons that would be available in the carrier battle groups? Normally, we would expect to see probably 2 on hand if there were going to be an attack. So I would say part of the answer is no, but then there's another part of the answer which suggests that a lot of work has been done since June of last year inside Israel, as well as within the region, to re-provision stocks with the required numbers of missiles. So again, the problem that you run into when you talk to the subject matter experts on this is that they always make the point, yes, we've replenished many of the missile stocks, but we don't have any depth. In other words, if you're going to fight for more than a week or 2, you've got a real problem. And the ships at sea, the aircraft that have to deliver this material, these things are in limited quantities. So the real issue is not so much can the attack go forward? Yes. It's how long can you sustain it before you run out? Because we know that the Iranian stocks are much, much larger. They can fire more missiles and rockets and more drones far longer than we can. And that's a problem. And then, of course, you have the hypersonic speeds. You're talking about anything from 5,000 miles per hour all the way up to almost 7,000 or 8,000 miles per hour. That's hypersonic. We can't shoot most of that down. Now, how many hypersonic missiles do they have? Well, they probably have at least a couple of hundred, maybe more. What kinds of payloads do they have? We're not sure. But how many do you need in order to penetrate the defenses of Israel? I think we found that penetrating those defenses is not extraordinarily difficult. It takes time. It takes large quantities. What about our forces, our bases on the ground in the region? Are they better protected today than they were in June of last year? I don't think so. I think they're still very vulnerable.
It ain't gonna go how people think, man. Okay? And he's letting you know, all right? Because you can't just see those Navy vessels, those Navy destroyers, those aircraft carriers, okay? They was protected by those missile defense systems. But now that they have missiles, they can bypass those defense systems. Those aircraft carriers can't just sit off the coast of the Persian Gulf and just send out send off the Air Force on those strike missions and come back. Okay? Because now they got weaponry. They can blow up, they can sink them aircraft carriers, and then they got weaponry they can down the aircraft in the air. Okay? You can't just post up in the Persian Gulf and just send cruise missiles on land. They got something that's gonna come back at the source of those missiles, man. Okay? And like he said, Iran can do it way longer than what America and the small hats can, because they've been stockpiling. And when you're fighting a war 5,000 miles away, you don't have the warehouse in your pocket. Yes, you can say, okay, America got all this on paper. Okay, that's cool. But can they carry it with them in their pocket? Okay, yeah, America got the most shit militarily wise, but can they carry it with in their pocket? And then it's a process that they have to go through to get reloaded. Who gonna sit there? If I got hypersonic missiles, I'm not gonna let you reload. Who come to reload you? And I got hypersonic missile with this precision. Who finna come reload you? Nobody. You're not gonna exist. Okay? So it sounds good on Fox News and CNN. Okay? Well, when this thing really go down, it's not going to go how people think, man. Okay, and of course, Russia and China are going to have to intervene. You see, but just Iran itself is not going to go how people think. Okay, so I want to go here. I want to fast forward it. Let's go here. Because you gotta understand, these people fighting from home. So they're fighting where their warehouses are. Russia, they're fighting from home. Okay, so they're right there by their stockpiles, man. Okay, you fighting 5,000 miles away. It don't work. They used to be able to do that because it will be over in a few weeks. Okay, they used to be able to do that because the wars would be quick. It'd be over. You know, by the time a week or two of their Air Force pummeling you, you wouldn't have no ability to respond. Okay, but they not built to sustain no long war like that, man. Okay, so let's play this.
Staying late again? Yep, got prospect calls to summarize. You really need to switch to Monday CRM. Your old
projects.
Now this is dealing with Russia. You know, he's going to speak on a little bit of Russia, but then he's going to play a clip for Trump, and it's just going to show you the pride, you know, that's on Trump, man. Okay.
Joint opportunities. In fact, some of that was mentioned again up in Alaska, but it all goes nowhere. It ends up vanishing in a cacophony of hatred and bitterness and anger. And he turns around and doubles down on the sanctions, even after it's patently obvious that the sanctions on Russia have not had the desired effect. In fact, not only have the Russians gotten around them, they've learned to fight through them, and they don't matter anymore. But yet he doubles down. In other words, what he says on one day and what he does.
You're talking about Trump, and then he said the sanctions don't even matter anymore. And then goes into if a brother want to post it, Isaiah 13, 17, and 18, how the Medes are raised up and they're not going to guard silver or gold. Because, you know what I'm saying, the West is all about gimmicks. Okay, they make the headline news about them taking these Russian tankers. Okay, seizing these, you know, certain Russian oil tankers, which a lot of them are ghost fleets with nothing on them, because America is so predictable. Okay, whole earth know America plan and strategy. So they'll make it seem, oh, Russia weak, you know. But then you gotta think about it. America has 24,000 sanctions on Russia as we speak. Okay, 24,000 sanctions on Russia as we speak. Okay, but those sanctions have become irrelevant now because there are so many workarounds when it comes to avoiding, American sanctions, man. There's a whole market where nations buy sanctioned products, sanctioned oil, sanctioned this and sanctioned that. There's a whole market now because America done sanctioned somebody so much that it created a sanctioned market to where these nations are buying a lot of goods for discount on these sanctioned markets. Okay, now as we speak today, with all these sanctions that's on Russia, all right, the cost of a loaf of bread in America is $5. That same loaf of bread in Russia is 50 cents with less additives. Okay, internet in Russia is $10. Your phone bill in Russia is $10. Free piano lessons. You know, you talk to people that's living in Russia, free piano lessons for the children, you know, free healthcare, free, you see? So you have to understand the West be painting a false reality, man. You see? And the Russian military is there's tens of thousands of new recruits every month. Okay, and the Lord got that emotion because they're preparing for this war, man. Okay, but just to show you, like, those sanctions, they don't hold no weight. The hammer is losing its weight, man. That hammer, all right, is becoming less and less effective because it's going to be cut asunder, as the scriptures say. All right, so let them say that again.
It's in anger, and he turns around and doubles down on the sanctions, even after it's patently obvious that the sanctions on Russia have not had the desired effect. In fact, not only have the Russians gotten around them, they've learned to fight through them, and they don't matter anymore. But yet he doubles down. In other words, what he says on one day and what he does the next are simply not the same.
How would he react, Trump, if the FSB, Russian intelligence, launched 91 drones at Mar-a-Lago while he was in the White House?
We can only guess, knowing President Trump, that he'd probably want to launch a nuclear strike. Who knows? But, the bottom line is that he doesn't see things that way. You know that. He sees himself as being on this towering summit of moral superiority and supremacy. And therefore, he and his country can do no wrong.
What is your view of his mental stability, having said things like, well, we'll listen to it ourselves? Chris, cut number 2.
Do you see any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop, and that's very good. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people.
And his country can do no wrong.
Now listen to this guy, man. Listen to the pride of Trump. Listen to it again, man. They asked him, if anything can stop him. And he said his own morality, which you devils don't have no morality. All right? Well, listen to this guy.
What is your view of his mental stability, having said things like, well, we'll listen to it ourselves? Chris, cut number 2.
Do you see any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop, and that's very good. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people.
The pride of thy heart has deceived him, man. It's the only thing can stop him in his own morale. All right. And this devil, Trump, because he's not proud because, he's some great, military leaders, some great leader. He's just a part of the team that's been winning for so long. Okay. And he speaks on behalf of, all these upper echelon Edomites that feel like they're above judgment, that they can't be stopped. Okay. I think that's Psalms 10 and 10 and 4. Psalms 10 verses 4 and 5. All right, this from the brother Manah, GMS All In 144. Isaiah 13 and 17 said, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Okay, so the Medes, the Russians are stirred up, man, because they have an assignment, all right, to break this bitch down, man, America, man. Okay, to cut this hammer asunder. All right, and Yahweh Shai gonna come and finish it off, man. You see, and these other nations as well. It said, which they shall not regard silver, and as with gold, they shall not delight in it, man. Russia, okay, they sell oil to America, so they still do business in the dollar, but they're nowhere near as dependent on it as they once were. Okay, and they begin to even flourish, okay, in other markets outside of the dollar, because so many nations are pouring over into this market, okay, that work around U.S. sanctions, man. And that's why America has to actually go out and now try to be aggressive with these nations, because the sanctions themselves are not doing it anymore. Okay, there was a time when America could just sit on this throne and sanction the earth, you know, and the earth would bend to his will. But now the king has to get off his throne often. And that's a bad sign. The king has to keep getting off his throne. You know, that's the sign of a declining empire. Okay, so verse 18 said their bows, and these arrows, also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. Yeah, because those missiles not going to have pity. Okay, those missiles, okay, are not going to feel sorry for the American population. Okay, and America hasn't felt sorry for anybody, man. Okay, let's go here. But you just heard that devil Trump say the only thing that can stop him is his morale. He don't need international law. Okay, and it shows you the spirit that these devils in, man. That old way, the UN, the EU, the international law, they're done with that, man. Okay, they want to forcefully bring in this new world order. All right, it says remnant loyal to Yahushua, Psalms 10:4. It said the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts. Okay, so this devil has no mindset towards the Most High. Okay, he said the only thing that can stop him is his morale. Okay, he didn't mention the Most High. Here it is. He's supposed to be protecting these Christians in Nigeria were down. When they asked him, you know, this question, he didn't mention Most High. He didn't even mention Jesus. Okay, they don't mention Jesus anymore, man. These politicians. Okay, it's them. They're God. Because this new world order is them proclaiming to be God. Okay, so him making that statement that the only person that can stop him is his morale. Basically, the only person that can stop him is him. They're saying that he's the top authority. There's no authority above him. Okay, it says his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight as far, all right, his enemies. He puffed at them. Okay, so this is the devil. You know, he's puffing at the planet Earth. You know, his mindset is that, you know, he's just going to throw his weight around and do what he wants to do what he's been doing. Who gonna stop me? That's the spirit of Esau, is who gonna stop me, man. Okay, so let's but it's gonna run because the Lord is gonna allow this devil to begin the process of stopping himself. He's already done it. The fact that these devils, okay, are dismantling their own system in hopes to build a new one. Okay, that's the Lord got these devils, okay, in self-destruct mode. Okay, so in a sense, he's right. And the only person that's going to stop Esau, okay, is Esau. But that's partial because it's the Lord causing the devil to do it, and then the Lord is going to send Yahushua, okay, to put this whole system, turn this whole system to powder, man. Okay, so let's go here to Joel 2:7. It's from the brother Anan. GMS all in 144. Joel 2:7. It says, they shall run like mighty men. These are the missiles. They shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march everyone on his ways. They shall not break their ranks, man. Okay, and that's those missiles that's going to come from afar. Okay, and put this man to sleep. Okay, this is gonna be the finalizer. The missiles and the chariots are going to be the finalizer, okay, of this man's kingdom. All right, it's the brother GMS Des Moines. All right, the GNT Wisdom Solomon 2:11 says, we call ourselves right if we are strong enough to get what we want. Yeah, so America is operating by the law of the jungle, and that says if I'm strong enough to do it, it's right. Okay, if I'm strong enough to do it, okay, it's right. And this how the devil been operating, but he's been more covert with it. But now he just out in the open, like, nigga, just taking shit, nigga. You just, you know, our strength justifies us. The fact that we can do it, that's the justification, man. Okay? And that's the perfect spirit that the devil should be in, because this is a spirit right before it falls. Okay? And the Lord finna come show the devil real power. It says, no one ever got anywhere by being weak. You see? So he looks at a nation that's weaker than him. Okay? It's just something wrong with that nation. Oh, they're not civilized. They're not, you know, he demonized any nation that's not, you know, as strong as him. Okay? So yeah, we'll end it here. This is brother. Now once again, GMS all in 144, Job 14:5 says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee, that has appointed his bounds that he cannot pass, man. All right, so Esau, he's at the end of the road. You know, he's running out of road. Okay, he's trying to create new road. But nah, man, it's already appointed. Okay, it's already appointed. This man's end is appointed, and we're at that appointment, man. Okay, so there was a point, you know, just want to touch on that, you know, Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutation to the hopeful, like Shalom.